Welcome to the Babies in Business Podcast. Join your hosts, Rachel and Avram Gonzales, real-life parents and business partners. Each week on Babies in Business, Rachel and Avram create a space for entrepreneurial parents to find their own way. They'll dive into insights on topics like leadership, efficiency, self-awareness, budgeting, and human psychology as they nurture their family and build their business. Here's your hosts, Avram and Rachel.
Hey, we're back. It's Avram and Rachel, the Babies in Business Podcast. Just chilling in our garage, recording podcasts. I think I've shared in a previous episode, we got this cool little outpost here where, baby doesn't know that we're out here recording podcasts. Nanny knows. Nanny knows it's the only way that we're going to be able to record cleanly without a bunch of stuff going on.
It's true. Well, they can even come through the garage when she brings him back from the day's activities. Yeah. And he doesn't even know. We're quiet, but if the garage door is opening, we're good.
This podcast today is about the facade.
Yeah.
It's about the entrepreneurial facade. It's about the puffing up, I think, that a lot of business owners do to pretend like they got it all together.
Yep. The overinflation of all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm. I'm not about to pretend and share with you that, our podcast studio is nothing glorious. Right? I'm not going to act like we've got all that together.
Sure.
But what I might be tempted to do, is to not let on with other business owners how stressed I am at home.
Yeah.
For example. Right? I might not let on and share with them, the story about a year ago would have been, I'm not sleeping at all.
Right.
And the reason that we're talking about this topic today is because we have both personally missed many opportunities where somebody would have gladly helped, pitched in, supported, done something for us, but we were too proud, I don't know what the word is, to admit or share our vulnerability.
I think it comes back to possibly just not admitting that we need help in addition to all those other things that you named, because we haven't really gotten to the point where we're so overwhelmed that it's just so necessary that we have the help. And we've not exhausted every single thing that we ourselves could do. So, being that person that wants to find those solutions, we've not found the solution yet. So I think it could be something like that. But yeah, it's important that in business, to your clients, they need to know you got things put together.
Right. They're paying you for a service.
Yeah. And then your marketing partners, people that you talk to about business, people that you'd love to have send you business. You also can't tell them that you're struggling necessarily and say, but I'm willing to form a business to come my way.
Yeah.
How does that make sense? It doesn't really make sense to me.
I mean, let's look at it the other way around, right?
Sure.
If you knew somebody was, we'll go extreme.
Yeah.
If you knew somebody was under financial duress and that they were a month or 2 months away from shutting their doors, would you be more willing or less willing to give them your money or refer them business?
I think that's a really clear answer of no.
It's really no, right? Or if you knew somebody had just a ton of personal drama and things,
right?
You would, I think, automatically assume that some level of that drama is also running through their business.
Right. That it creeps over. It can't help but creep over.
Right. I think, perception is reality. We've heard that before about your networking and how people in your relationships, right? Perception is reality. And so I know that I project that if somebody has a very dramatic life, I make a lot of assumptions about what it would probably be like to do business with them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, from a very young age, we're taught to see things danger or not danger, and, good for us, bad for us, all those things. And it's hard to not take that same mentality into business and different areas of our life.
Yeah. And I think that is why it feels hard to be vulnerable with our business contacts and business friends sometimes.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and that's, I think it's really important that's why we're having this conversation, because it is a conundrum.
It is a conundrum.
We are in business, but we are also human, and we also have these human things going on. And it's kind of like, who are the people to say yes to when they offer to help, if that's a thing? Or like you said, we've denied help in the past because we've maybe not admitted it or been willing.
We denied help in the past because nobody knew that we were struggling.
Right. Exactly.
We refused to let other people in because of some of these fears about what other people might think of us, how it might impact business. That's one thing. But I know another thing that people struggle with is upbringing.
Oh yeah, big time.
Right? So that ability to be vulnerable in certain ways can be impacted by the religion you grew up in, just your general upbringing, maybe the part of the country that you were in.
It could also be like sibling dynamics and things like, or just family dynamics. For me, it's asking for help for my personal problems just seemed like something that I just would not do because my problems were so much smaller than everything that my family was going through. Because I remember being very young and just thinking, wow, I am a burden. I am a burden to my family.
Just by being alive.
I am a burden. And I look back and I think back and I look at some of the beliefs that I've taken into adulthood. And even now I still struggle with them. But being aware of them and being willing to say, like, I did a meditation a while ago and I changed this belief of I am a burden to I am a blessing. Because I am a blessing. If people know me, if they have met me, they most often say, you are the most positive person I've ever met, or you just have so much energy and you're so kind and you're so bright and all these things. And I just never let that sink in. And I just always felt like a burden, So for me also, it's like, one of the things, part of the reason why we're talking about this is one of the personal situations that we had with Lincoln. It was 9 months in to the postpartum journey, and Lincoln was not sleeping well, and we were trying to troubleshoot all sorts of things, but I was taking lead on all the baby sleep stuff because also I was feeding him. Well, I wasn't nursing him at that point, but I was taking all the stuff because I just felt really strongly about the way that I wanted to do it. And
I really had no clue, little experience.
Yeah.
The only thing I had was stuff I'd read about.
Right. And you very much just said very clearly, you know what this is. You've done this before. You've got the instincts, all the things.
And you seem confident.
Yeah.
Mom's going to lead here.
Yeah. And I just, I found myself at 9 months postpartum, and I found myself in a really deep depression and with suicidal thoughts. And it was the very first part of any kind of depression as far as like acting on anything. It was just the thoughts. And that was very concerning to me because at no point in my life had I ever had anything like that happen to me. And I just knew that something needed to change. And I think I did bring it to you that I had those thoughts. And then I think it was after we'd had that conversation that maybe you had invited a sleep trainer into our life. And I was very mad at you because I felt like I should have known better and done better, been better, all these things. And that sleep should have come easier, that I'm his mom, and that it should be just a natural thing, that it just comes. Like, how do people go from infancy to adulthood if instinct doesn't take part in this,
Yeah,
how do we get from point A to point B if that's not enough, And then also the way that I grew up, that I was raised by a mother that self-sacrificed herself to the day she died. And she passed away in 2018, and she was just barely 60. And so I look back and I see that it's a lot of my upbringing and religious. I grew up Mormon, and I was taught that the only worth that I had was to be a wife and a mother. And I just felt like I was failing at that, miserably failing at that. And that led to all the thoughts and confusion and feelings that I had. And then you invited Megan, the sleep trainer, into our life, and it changed our life. And I had not been willing to admit that I was overwhelmed and that I didn't have it all together. That you thought all the way up until that point when I told you that I had it all together.
Sure. It's interesting that we are recording these in the order that we're recording them because we just did one on overwhelm, the signs of overwhelm. Check out the show notes for that. It was just a very great, candid, powerful conversation on recognizing the signs and then what to do about it.
Yeah.
So this is the what to do about it. So Rachel, like she said, was maintaining this facade that she had it. But I could see the facade cracking.
Yeah.
Right? So she wouldn't admit it to herself even because of all these reasons. And then it took me seeing the signs and then being pretty assertive about it in creating an opportunity for a solution.
Yeah.
Right.
And really you were courageous in that because you knew that I'd get mad at you. You knew that I'd be mad, but you knew that I would hopefully thank you for it. And I did.
I knew it was necessary. Right. So imagine if I didn't have the front row seat to your struggle.
Yeah.
I would have, and nobody else would have ever realized or known just how badly you needed it.
Yep.
That's the point of the conversation.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes you're in it and you're not even aware about how bad it is. That's one side of it.
And you don't get out of it because you say something. We didn't get out of that situation because I said something to you in the sense that I'm overwhelmed. I told you something that told you I was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But I didn't say I'm overwhelmed. I can't do this.
Right.
I don't know how to do this because I don't know that I could have uttered those words.
Because that just doesn't happen. It happens in the movies, but people very rarely will come up and say, like, I need it.
Yeah, I'm feeling as a mom. The only thing that I'm worth.
Yeah, or like come out of it with the specific solution. Like, oh, I'm really struggling right now. We definitely need to get that sleep coach. So let's get him on the calendar. It just doesn't evolve like that.
No.
Right. So this is
and I think it's a comical thing. Looking back now, I actually think it's kind of a comical thing because you're not the action taker in this relationship. But it was that day that you called Megan. It was that day that you got us on the schedule.
Yeah. I'm usually the think about it, then take action versus.
Yeah. But you just took action, and I will forever be grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is a powerful personal story that brings us all the way back into the business side.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So there are many reasons, we shared some in the beginning here, about why in business situations you might not be as open. Right?
Yeah.
Because it can seem like it's to your advantage to appear a certain way.
Exactly.
All right. And I think this is also where there's some discernment, how much is appropriate to share in these different areas. Now, we have something that we realized in discussing this topic before we put on the map to do a podcast for it. We realized that we are far more open with our gym family.
Yeah.
Right? Than a lot of our business contacts. There's a handful of business contacts
that are friends
and
know us personally too,
and then get like the full story.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're the ones that know about all the things going on
Mm-hmm.
because they kind of actually care too.
They care too. They deserve to, because that's where our relationship is at. It's like that we have that sharing, but I mean that's less than 1 out of 10 people.
Yeah, far less.
Right.
Far less. But at the gym, like you said, there's so many people that just, I am 33 weeks along today, and I am continuing to go to the gym. I go every other day to Orange Theory, and people that don't even know me are cheering me on because I'm still there. And that just feels so great. You don't necessarily get that in business situations where people are cheering you on, but it definitely feels like people are cheering you on at the gym, so that feels really cool. Mm-hmm. But then also just people interested in your life. They get to know you. They ask you questions over time that they see you in class or whatever, before or after. And people have been genuinely interested in our journey. And they're also interested in knowing about Lincoln and the new baby and all the different things that we've even had someone offer saying, if you need anything, like even ice chips and then he went on to name all these different things that he'd be willing to help with when baby comes. So knowing that person is genuine and anyway, letting people in.
Yeah. I think the big one that's on our minds lately has been when we've expressed just the trouble that we've had with managing our schedule and getting childcare consistently and this and that. You know, when we became specific and we opened up and we started sharing just how frustrated we have been, that's when everybody started offering.
Yes. Well, and when we're vulnerable.
You're vulnerable.
We have someone that actually offers us a service in our business that we pay her for. And she wanted to take us out to lunch. And we kept dodging her. She wanted to meet with us, and we kept dodging her. Not in a bad way, but it was just we never had the time, and we couldn't make the time. And then finally, she said, "So I would like to bring you lunch. What day works for you?" And because I had kind of opened up to her in this one email, I'd just not been able to get her something, and it had been a long time for me because I'm the person that gets things done very quickly. So she knew something was up. But I was just really candid with her about all the personal stuff that's going on, what that contributes to in our household, that we have a lack of childcare regularity, that we are struggling to get work done, all these different things. And she said, well, I could come and pick up Lincoln on this day and this day, between this time and this time, have him back by this time and this time. Does that work for you? And I said, yes. And she did it. And it was wonderful. And she made sure that when she picked him up, she said, and you can do whatever you want with this time. You don't even have to work. Which was nice because sometimes when you get babysitting, and it's for free, you feel like you have to honor that time or that person by doing the thing that you said you needed help with most with business. So that was one of the examples of saying yes to help. It did feel a little bit uncomfortable at the moment in that time. But saying yes was great because it also let someone help. She wanted to help, and she offered to help, and she offered what she could help with.
It was a big deal.
It was a huge deal.
This conversation reminds me also of something else that I feel like I missed out a lot on earlier in my entrepreneurial career.
Yeah.
So like when you're young, you're in your 20s, it also might just be kind of like a guy thing. You know, you're pretty puffed up, and you are trying to prove that you're worthy and that you know your stuff. You know, you're trying to earn your place in the world. And I found that in so many conversations with other brilliant entrepreneurs, because I acted like I had it all together and that I had answers for everything, they never had room to distill any of their brilliance into me.
Yeah.
Right. And I was squandering all these conversations, you know, and I think about one of my buddies, John Victoria, who I'm just feel so lucky that I get to bump into him and meet up with him on a regular basis since we met, you know, years ago. One of the things I admire about John is that he's such a good listener, and he asks great questions, and he never pretends to be anything more than he is, or really anything at all, right? John's just so humble. And then what happens is people contribute their knowledge to him openly and freely because he's like, yeah, I'm dealing with this thing right now. Like, do you have any insight on that? Even if it might make him look like or feel like a certain way.
Sure.
That maybe is uncomfortable for him. I don't know. Maybe we ask him, how uncomfortable has that been, John? You know, he might say, it's always been uncomfortable. But it didn't stop him from doing it and choosing to operate from that place.
Yeah.
Right? So there's like all this brilliance that you don't get to participate in from other people that would love to contribute to you by pretending like you've got it all covered.
Right. Exactly. You do not allow people to contribute to you. Exactly. It's
Like
so important.
They don't need help.
Exactly.
Yeah. Probably got an answer for everything.
Exactly.
Gosh.
Well, and I think of back in February when we went on the run to Sedona. I think of your friend there. You were willing to get vulnerable with him, and he was willing to offer some of his brilliance. And that was really, really awesome because
helped solve a big problem in our business.
Prior to that, he thought that we just had it all together. And he's like, well, I mean, he's got to because he's just brilliant. He's amazing. And he thinks so highly of you. But then when you were willing to just be vulnerable, both of you were vulnerable with each other. And when you think about it, you didn't think less of him because he shared that with you.
No.
He didn't think less of you because you shared that with him. So I think maybe we do need to possibly rethink about needing to guard that we're going through something.
It's true.
I think that it is very, very important for people to know that we're going through something. Not that it's the excuse that things aren't getting done or that they're not going to get served or they're going to get lack of service, those kinds of things. But anyway, makes me think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think about a couple days ago, we just honored the passing of my grandparents yesterday as of recording this podcast, and we had a client that wanted to meet a little bit more urgently, and we shared with them, I understand that you would like to meet. That's just not going to happen today. We're going through this thing. And they were like, oh, next Tuesday's fine.
Right.
And I think if we weren't willing to offer that, they might
feel blown off,
or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So.
For sure.
Lots of examples. I think you're right. I think maybe that is something to consider. But then it just comes back around, all the way back around. It's like, but there are just certain things that you do not share with the general public.
For sure. And I just think also that it's, we need to judge their reactions less and be willing to receive more. And that could lead to more clarity in how we share and who we share with. Those kinds of things that, with those parameters, just thinking about it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we make judgments about people and how they're showing up in our life or not, and if they'd want to be involved or not, and we don't necessarily ask them, or some people may offer, and sometimes there's this occasional, well, if you need anything, and then it's like, well, is that really the person I want to reach out to, or is it the person that I can say just simply yes to because they've given me a plan of how they can help me? Anyway.
Well, yeah, big topic. Stop acting like you have it all together. Hey, listen, we'd love to have your thoughts on it. You can write us anytime, hello@babiesandbiz.com. There's a contact form on our website. We're all over social media @babiesandbizpod, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those fancy places kids are hanging out these days. And we're still looking for those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Go over there, click that 5-star, leave a little note about why you like the podcast. You can do that on Spotify, wherever else you're listening, and it would surely help us reach more people and encourage folks to listen into the podcast. So, anything else you'd like to add?
I think that's it.
All right, let's close it in there. We appreciate you listening in today. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Babies in Business podcast. Who do you know that would benefit from hearing this episode? Share it with them and post about it on social media. You can find the show notes for this episode, free downloads, and connect with the rest of the community at babiesandbiz.com. We'll see you next time.